But we're going to have a good little session today. It'll be abbreviated a little bit. So, but anyway, just hey, as we're closing in on time to get going. First of all, good morning. Let's see, this month, January, we've got 1 week from this next Tuesday to get we'll be closing out the month. And of course, the company's got the $49 IBA going through the end of the month. And then the other thing I was going to mention real quick is we're going to be doing our leadership retreat, our first one. Years ago, I talked about a little bit about this last week or so, but years ago, we did a program called Expansion Seminar, and we took serious regional leaders, typically they were regional leaders, that we could see them making a run to RVP. And we brought them into Atlanta, and I had this long agenda. It was basically a 2-day weekend that we did it, and we had everything from how to become or how to get to RVP. Once you become a VP, of course, to get to VP, you got to kind of act like one first. You got to kind of like walk like one, talk like one, etc. And so anyway, so we just kind of coached that whole weekend. And out of that, I mean, I don't know how many, seems like we promoted 30 new RVPs out of that. And so we're going to resurrect that meeting. Like I said last week, that it was so successful, we stopped doing it. And so, but now we're going to resurrect that. And we're going to do our first one the weekend of February 4th. 4th, 5th, and 6th here in Jackson. And so we limited this first one to 80 slots. And so this is kind of our trial run at that. It's going to be a very powerful agenda. I think there might be a few slots left. You would just need to let Rose know, just email Rose or, get with your RVP, all that. And but it's going to be a special weekend. We're starting off with a reception Friday night for regional leaders and RVPs, and then Saturday morning we're going to hit it. We're going to go probably from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'll have a lunch break. There's no registration fee. I'm picking up the tab on it, and the goal is, and then for people who want to stay over, then we'll do a Sunday. You could stay over. It's going to be at the chapel at Livingston, and Dan Hall, which many of you have heard Dan, will be he'll be not only participating in the leadership retreat, but we also have a little non-denominational chapel service at the chapel at Livingston every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for an hour. And that's usually incredible. So anybody that would like to stay over for that, just kind of make a weekend of it, would love to have you. We got rooms at the Marriott Courtyard. You just need to book a room and all that. So it's going to be a good thing. But the thing that I see is my goal for this is really for this to be kind of part of the RVP process, becoming an RVP in our hierarchy. That this will be hopefully become part of that process, that someone would need to be able to attend one of these. We're going to do several. My goal is to do several a year of this, and when we really get to know people, coach people, and so I'm excited about it. And then of course, coming up, man, this summer at the National Convention, man, what an event that's going to be. And we're having, I've actually got some rooms blocked at the Ritz-Carlton downtown. They're a couple $100 a night. If you are interested in that or whatever, you can email Rose, have your RVP do that. But everybody will be able to register. This right now, it's RVPs can register for the convention now, and then starting February 1, everybody in the company. So there's going to be plenty of rooms at hotels all over the city, different price points, all that. So hopefully, man, you're going to join us in Atlanta. Whatever you got to do. I just think this is going to be one of the best conventions ever, kind of post-COVID. And so we're excited about that. Having said that, let me kind of jump into what, I was going to try to get to this last week, and I don't know how long this will go. As soon as I get through with it, then it'll be done. But it won't be a long meeting today. I'm sure that you'll be fine with us cutting a little short today. And sometimes we do go over, and I apologize for that. But the last few months, we've talked about, the whole idea of building momentum. And, and I've talked about the something I had read, this is 4 or 5 months ago. The way you build momentum is through consistent, continuous motion. And, I've never really been able to articulate that in quite that way till I read that. And I thought, man, that is, I wish I would have known that like 30 years ago. Because, momentum is just such a funny thing. You either got it or you don't. But and I've always said, hey, you go have a little victory, you get a breakthrough, and then get all you can get. It's kind of like we used to bale hay growing up in the country. And man, once that hay hits the ground, you got to get it in the barn, right? You don't want it to get wet. And so everything takes a back seat. Once that hay hits the ground, you got to get it in the barn. And so you got to get all you can get while the sun's shining. You got to get all you can get. And so, we've talked about momentum, getting those breakthroughs and all, but it just never hit me. It's the way you do it is through consistent, continuous motion. And so many people, and I know I've done this before, so I'm preaching to the choir, but we kind of start and stop. And, life has a way to, get us off track, and next thing you know, you lose a little momentum and all that. And so, I just got a text. That's going to be my closing point, the text I just got. So somebody remind me of that if I forget it. But anyway, so let's go back to, really what you got to do to get this thing going, right? And it has to do with activity. But I know, and many of you, most of you probably, if you've heard me tell the story about, I had been in the business about 2 months. I had went to hear Art Williams before I joined the company, and sat through a fast start school. And I heard Art say some things I'd really never heard before, that, if you make it here, every piece of flesh out there walking around, every human being, they've got fears, they've got weaknesses, and insecurities. But the ones who do it feel the fear, the apprehensions, the insecurities, but then they do it anyway. And just so many things about what it takes to win in business or anything. I began to hear Art Williams say things like that. And so anyway, my first 2 months, I went to the company, the local office in Hattiesburg. The office had just opened in Hattiesburg. I lived in Laurel. There was no office there. So I drove 30 minutes. I went to school at Southern Miss. So I was over there anyway, 3 days a week in class, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And so it seemed like it was a Tuesday night or whatever. They had a little training session. The office, like I said, had just opened. There were maybe 10 people, 10 of us there. And it was a little hour and a half, 2 hour training session, just fundamentals, how to do this, blocking, tackling, that type of thing, fundamentals of the business. And so anyway, at the end of the thing, I had heard Art kind of coach on that first event I ever went to. Then I joined the company. And then, one of the things he said, you got to be willing to do what most people aren't willing to do. And so, and I don't know why, other than it was just a God thing for me. I felt like I was hoping this thing was real. And I was hoping that somebody like me, even I had a lot of those insecurities, not a lot of confidence, all that. But I was hoping that somehow I could be good enough to make it here. And so anyway, at the end of that meeting, for some reason, I just started catching people. It's about maybe 8 other people there. And I just kind of caught people as people were mingling around after the event there at the little office. And and I just asked people a question. I said, look, how many people do you sit down with each week? And I started hearing things like, 2 people, 1 person, 0, 4, 3, 0, whatever. And for some reason, I just thought, okay, when I heard Art Williams say before I even joined the company, you got to be willing to do what most people aren't willing to do. Because I felt the thing I felt the most uncomfortable with was setting an appointment. Because, what do you say, that all those insecurities that creep in. And so what do you say to do it? That phone did weigh literally 500 pounds. And so I just remember saying to myself, okay, that's it. That's why these people, that's why they aren't, they're doing it 0 times this past week, or 1 or 2. And, it's like I may have said last week, if you talk to 1 person a week, there's nothing going to happen, right? In anything. I don't care whether you're selling hamburgers or real estate or financial services. It's just not going to happen. So anyway, so I just said, when I heard Art say you got to be willing to do what most people aren't willing to do. And then the other thing I heard him say at that event, he said, it takes 3 things to make it. You got to have work ethic. Okay. You got to be a good person, and you got to have a game plan. Okay. And if you're willing to do that, if you're a good person, you got a game plan, you got work ethic, he said, you'll beat 90% of everybody in the room. You'll beat 90%. He said, now those top 10%, you got to fight them for number 1, because they're doing the same thing you're doing, right? In other words, they're a good person, they've got work ethic, and they've got a game plan. And Art used to say that, he said, look, man, if you'll just outwork everybody, you'll be in the top 50%, right? Just by outworking them. And so anyway, so I heard those couple of things. Then I heard some other things that most people in this business, or I'm just using our business as an example, work small numbers and expect big results, right? And so, so the thing about it is, what hit me, I said, man, I've got to work larger numbers to expect big results. I can't work small numbers and expect miracles to happen. Just not going to happen. So the next thing that I began to think about is because another thing Art said at that first event, he said, as long as you've got people to talk to, you can stay in business. Well, I took that to mean, look, if you don't have people to talk to, then you got to go get a job. You can't stay here, right? And they weren't going to kick me out, but I just knew, hey, look, I've got to expand my audience. And I see Gary Baxter on here, but I heard Gary Baxter say one time, there's 3 different groups of people you want in your audience that you're going to present the business to. People people they know, and people you want to know. So people, naturally your warm market, but then the referrals of the market, the relationships that they have. But then as you go through life, those people you want to know, just to and the key there is just to be friendly and be nice. And, that really opens a lot of doors for all of us. But then the next thing you want to do, so you've got to constantly expand your market, right? But then the other thing, you've got to fine tune your approach. One of the things I found is, man, it's like Llewellyn said a week ago, whatever, that you've got to fine tune your approach of what you say to people. You can say the wrong thing. And I saw that early on, that, man, I could say the wrong, I could say one wrong sentence to somebody, And so, you know, and not get a good result. So that's where I learned to use my field trainer, John, who trained me. And I learned to use John and say, John, look, here's what I'm saying. What do I need to change that up? And so I was able then to fine tune my approach. But the thing about it is, even if you're using the wrong approach, if you're having activity, you'll fix it. You'll fix it as you go. And it's kind of like the first overview that I ever did. You know, at the end of it, everybody got up and walked out. And so I knew I do not want to say what I just said again. That'll be the last time I ever use that outline of an event. So if you're having activity, you're going to fix it as you go. The other thing that I found in scheduling activity is next week, this week. I learned not only I've got to have people to talk to, right? I've got to fine tune my approach. I've got to use the right approach, but then I've got to schedule next week, this week. And pretty much I've never really once I got into a week, I really didn't focus on scheduling activity that week. It was always the next week. Joe, what are you doing next Tuesday? Right. And what I found was people, because the further you book in and schedule in advance, well, the less thing would be on someone's calendar, right? Fewer things are going to be on their calendar. And then the other thing, the human nature, people love to procrastinate. So by me saying, look, what are you doing next Tuesday? Well, yeah, he or she will commit to anything they don't have to do today. I mean, that's human nature. And so that was these are little things, but anyway, they make a big difference. Okay. So next week, this week, and then the other thing that I learned to do was overschedule, right? Overscheduled activity. And guys, you know, I was just looking up before this started, Murphy's Law. We've all heard of Murphy's Law. Okay. Well, there's actually a dude named Murphy. And he was, that goes back to 1950 to 1955. There was a gentleman named Edward Murphy. Okay. He was an American aerospace engineer who worked on safety systems, right? Well, but boy, that's important. Okay. But, you know, he's the one that coined the phrase, hey, everything can go wrong, will go wrong, and probably will. Okay. And so the thing about it is, you know, I just learned I said, okay, here's the result of, you know, all these people. I've asked them, you know, how many times did you sit down with someone this past week? 0, 1, 3, 4. Nobody was 4, more than 4. But most of them were 0, 1, and 2. Okay. So that's when I said, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to overschedule my week. And I only had that 3 days that I could work the business. I had 3 days a week, 3 partial days, because I was either in school, full-time student, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. At the health club, I was there Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. I opened and then went to school. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was working at the health club. Okay. So I was pretty much going 7 days a week, but I had 3 afternoon evenings a week that I could schedule activity. Okay. But man, people say, man, that was real busy. No, it wasn't. You know why? Because all of a sudden, you know, the health club helped pay the bills, but man, I got to focus on building my little dream, my little side hustle, you know, that time. And I thought, man, this is about the dream of entrepreneurship. This is about, they told me that if I get this down, if I focus, this could be the last thing that I ever have to be good at. This could be something where I would never have to go on a job interview the rest of my life. You know, I'd already had enough at 24 after 3 years of Uncle Sam, right? In the Army and the politics and all that crap. And then, just what interviewing I had done at the thought of a 9 to 5, 30 years literally nauseated me. The thought of corporate America literally nauseated me. And so I thought, man, I got to get off of the clock at the health club, and then go out there and focus on building my little dream on the side, and open me a checking account, something I could deposit those checks into, right? And hearing Art Williams say, man, listen, you'll be paid 6 months from now for what you do today. And I looked at every little activity, everything I would do to learn more, grow my business, every appointment, all that stuff. I looked at it as literally I was making an imaginary deposit into my account that I was going to be able to physically go pull cash out of in 6 months. And that gave me a little bit of a longer term view. I just thought, man, I got to make deposits every day into my business. And so I had three times that I could schedule. And that's where I came up with what I called my 555 theory. I labeled it 555 theory. I had 3 days a week. I could actually schedule 5 appointments. I scheduled them an hour apart, right? And so if I started at 4 p.m., of course now, folks, I mean, you can do Zoom during the day, whatever, but let's just say I do one at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So I'd do that, schedule next week, this week. So when I went into a weekend, my goal was to have 15 appointments scheduled for next week. Whatever I didn't have scheduled by Friday, I'd wrap it up on Sunday night, Sunday evening. I put a bow on it on Sunday evening. And then you know what I would do? I'd get up Monday morning and I would hope and pray that somebody canceled, right? I would think, oh Lord, man, and let me tell you, the first time I did that, I only made it to 3 of the appointments, and I had to call 2 of them while I was at the other person's home and say, listen, I'm gonna have to slide you back. Can I be late or whatever? Or listen, I'm over here on an appointment right now. It's gone over. Can I just get with you next week? You know how many people I ever had turn me down when I did that? Nobody, because then they're thinking, what the heck is he into? He just canceled on me. I didn't want him to come, right? So all of a sudden, the negatives of having too few of appointments or scheduled appointments became a positive. And I was just like, man, so all of a sudden, that's where I learned to numbers neutralize the negatives, totally neutralizes it, right? And so anyway, I did my 555, and then you know what I found? Well, let me go ahead and let me hit all the points here. Okay, the other thing, here's another thing that I learned, that you could discipline yourself 2 hours a week and build total financial independence. Because in 2 hours of scheduling, if you let scheduling become your thing, in 2 hours of scheduling, you can schedule 15 appointments in 2 hours. And then what I found is once I got everything scheduled, then I never canceled appointments, unless I ran out of time. But I would that gave me the discipline to actually go do the work. And then when I started doing the work, then good things started happening. By the end of the week, I'm like bouncing off the ceiling and I'm making income. I'm not worried about money anymore, and things are happening. And then what would happen is with all the rescheduling, I knew if I went into a week with 15 appointments, right, I would actually only do, because Murphy's Law, everything can go wrong, will go wrong, and it probably will. And so people would say, David, look, man, the dog got ran over, our kid is sick, whatever, can I reschedule? Sure, no problem. So I would schedule, I just roll them to the next week. So that means I only had to schedule 8. Once I got 15 scheduled, I only scheduled about 8 new appointments a week. And that gave me 15 for the next week. So I would just have 15 scheduled, eight or 7 or 8 would roll to the next week. I'd add another 8 to it, right? And so anyway, so I did that. And then Art Williams, my 4th month in the business, came to Jackson, and he recognized me with my first recognition, gave me a red t-shirt, a proven leader on it. And because I did that, they invited me to Sea Island, Georgia, which is where Jill got fired at. And that's where we decided to come home, quit our jobs, and go full time. Okay. Now, well, let me tell you this. And there's an end to all this. Okay. But, you know, a lot of people say, well, David, how do you identify a leader? And you don't, because leaders identify themselves, right? Leaders identify themselves. Leaders, man, they want to compete. They want to get out on the field and go for it. And you know, do we feel like it all the time? No. I can't tell you how many times I didn't feel like doing it, right? But next thing you know, you get a little spark, and then you use that spark to put some continuous, consistent motion to it. And next thing you know, you start to build momentum. So the results of that, okay, like I said, that's my first 4 months living in Laurel, Mississippi. Jill and I came home from Sea Island, Georgia, and we opened our little office in Laurel. The results of that was we had about 10 new clients doing business with us every month. Had about 4 new people joining our little company every month. And then, so by over about a 5-month period after that, we had about 20 active people. If I called a meeting, I could have about 20 people, part-timers, full-timers, pretty much everybody was part-time. But about 20 people would show up at our little 2-room office in Laurel. And then we made a decision to move to the Gulf Coast. So we moved to the Gulf Coast, our 9th month. We'd been in 9 months, moved to the Gulf Coast. And so we went down to the Gulf Coast. And like I talked about last week, I mean, I mean, back then, ads were the day, right? I mean, we ran newspaper ads and all. I don't know what you got to do. All I know is like this week, this last week, I told Lauren, I said, look, get on Indeed, that thing. It's a resume service. They have a subscription called Professional. It's professional. It's $250 a month, and you get 100 resumes a month, right? So I said, subscribe me to that. And, you know, I've got some guys in the base shop. I'm gonna help them do some interviews and all that stuff. I mean, do what you got to do, right? But I'm saying people you know, people they know, people you want to know. But so anyway, but what we did on the Gulf Coast, hired a guy named David Marks that hired Jim Hass, right? And they gave us Canada now, right? Probably half our hierarchy came from that run. Hired a guy named Bill Lyles who bought in Gary Baxter, right? And okay, but here's the thing. Here's the point I want to make. Okay, so the first month on the Gulf Coast, we'd been in 9 months. Our 10th month, we recruited 16 people. The next month, we recruited 26 people. Okay. And after that, we started double-digit recruiting. We had about 10 new people joining our company every month. Our 5th month, we were doing, and I mentioned this last week, our 5th month, we had 42 people, right? And, you know, we were double-digit recruiting, but we were only doing about 15 term outs a month. And I thought to myself, I talked about this last week, that I just took a half day off. And I said, man, after lunch, I said, man, I have got to figure out, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And I took half a day off. I just went back in my office, sat down with a legal pad, and I thought to myself, David, what did you do, right? What did you do, you know, when you first came in that you're not doing now, that the team is not doing? I was doing it. but our team was not doing it. I had not been able to translate that from me to our team of guys like a Jim Hass and Bill Lyles, et cetera. And because we were only doing our 5th month on the Gulf Coast, we were only doing 15 apps a month. So what hit me was at the end of that meeting with myself, right, which to me is a great, probably one of the best meetings you can have somebody a meeting with is yourself. Go in the bathroom mirror, whatever, the man or the woman in the mirror. But so what hit me was that, David, you have our office, we had an activity problem, right? We had an activity problem. And so anyway, with all those things that I just covered, all those points I just covered, that's what we weren't doing. And I went back to the 555 theory, schedule next week, this week, everything. I'm not going back over it. Okay. But, and man, we started doing that. Okay. And folks, let me tell you, we were doing in our 5th month, our sixth month, it may have been our 7th month. We went from doing 15 term outs a month just because we focused on activity. I said, okay, look, we're gonna focus on scheduling activity. We're just gonna have activity, and then we're gonna let God sort it out. We're just gonna see, we're just gonna do what we can control, control what we can control. And folks, we went from doing 15 term outs a month, double-digit recruiting, but 15 term outs a month to 60 term outs a month. And we did that for the 7th, 8th, and 9th month. We were on the Gulf Coast. So our 18th month, we made RVP, and then promoted right after that Bill Lyles, and then Jim Hass were our first 2 RVPs that we promoted. And the other thing, I'm gonna share my screen here real quick. Okay. Let's see here. Let me think here. Okay. Y'all hang with me. Okay. Oh man, you know what? I don't need to do that. Wait a minute. Okay, hang on. Y'all hang with me. Okay, here we go. Okay, see that? That's the activity pipeline. And I actually came up, man, I didn't come up with the concept, but I came up with this design, okay? It's only about 25 years old. And, but anyway, so here was another key thing. I said, okay, listen, what we've got to do is stay focused on the activity pipeline. Activity is going to be our thing. That is going to be the thing that we're going to dominate on activity. And again, we're just going to let the Lord sort it out. There's two activity pipelines you got to roll with. One is presentations. Presentations lead to F&As, financial needs analysis. Some people do those, some people don't. And then you end up with transactions, right? And the same thing with recruiting interviews, okay? And you interview somebody, they attend a business overview, you do a follow-up interview, and then what comes out is a recruit at the bottom end of that pipeline. And what happens a lot of times is people they'll have activity, they'll do all the things that I've already talked about, but then they start having activity go into that front end of the pipeline. But then after about 2 weeks or a month or whatever, then they wonder, okay, they run down to the where it's coming out, and they stare at the wrong end of the pipeline. And they're wondering, okay, where are all these transactions, right? Where's all this recruiting? And so they take their eyes off the front end of the pipeline. So that's when I thought, okay, we've got to stay focused on the front end. And the thing about it is, I mean, do you need to look at the back at the end of the pipeline? Absolutely. Okay. You need to do that, but you don't need to live there. I mean, you look at your numbers to make sure your ratios are correct. One of the things that Art taught us was on your ratios, really 30 to 50% of everybody you sit down with to try to solicit as a potential client, 30 to 50% of those should do business with you. So that lets you know whether your presentation's a problem or whatever. So if you talk to 10 people, if 3 to 5 of them don't do business with us, then you need to fix something. You need to sit down with the RVP, call me, whatever, and then let's say, okay, let me play doctor on you, right? And let's address that. On the recruiting side, okay, 10 to 50%. So if you do 10 interviews, you should be on a 10 to 50% ratio, right? Typically, there's not pretty much anybody in Primerica that recruits more than a 50%, right? People may say that, but in reality, probably not. Okay, but if you interview 10, you try to recruit 10 people, you should get 1 to 5, right? Okay, and that just lets you. So look at your ratios. Okay, but then, folks, the biggest thing again, most people work small numbers and expect big results. Okay, and so you got to play the numbers. And like we talked about, I believe last week, when you compress activity, the magic happens when you do a lot in a short period of time. If you focus on the activity and you compress your activity down, you're going to have an explosion. It's just a matter of time, because as you have activity, you're going to get better and better. Okay. Now 10:35. Okay. I got something I'm going to close with here. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Here's a buddy of mine runs a health club. Okay. And the thing about it is, the thing that really prepared me for this business, I didn't know it at the time, but I talked about that when I learned that first few months in the business and the activity and all that. But what really prepared me to build was managing a health club, right? Because health clubs, you have new members joining every month, okay? And I've got a buddy of mine. I just knew, like at our Laurel Health Spa. I mean, we had about 600 members, right? And I don't remember how many new members joined every month, but I know we looked at it, right? We had the men's side and the women's side, okay, of the club. And but anyway, I've got a buddy of mine that's ran different health clubs. There was a club in Hattiesburg area. They did around 55 new members every month, right? 55 new members joined every month. Let's see, they had about 1,500 members, okay? Okay, if a new member joins a training program, they'll stay a member for 2 years or more, okay? If a new member doesn't, the success rate, let's say at the gym, is only about 20%. My point is, you need new members monthly. It's a lifeline of any gym, right? Now, again, this is just a buddy of mine that's been in the health club business over 20 years. And before the call, I just shot him a text and asked him that. And folks, what are we, the thing about it is, like, when people say, well, this recruiting thing, well, first of all, do you want to be by yourself or not? I just don't know any way to, how do you build a business without recruiting anything? I don't care whether you own a McDonald's. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to own your own business and you don't want to be the only person working, I don't know of any other way to do it than offer the opportunity to somebody. Is everybody going to join? No. But and like the thing I learned at the health club, it's numbers business. I would do a radio remote, or we'd give away some free memberships for 30 days and da 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 da. And I would just try to get people coming in the door, and then I would show them around, let them work out a couple of times, free, whatever. And then I'd say, hey, man, here are my clothes. What do you think? We'd love to have you as a member, right? And if you really just do that, let people know that we're an option. And then what I found was that enough people will say, especially as you learn, you do it 10 times and you learn what to say and how to say it. And then you do it, repetition over and over and over and over. You get to where you do it in your sleep. This is no different. And the thing about it is ours is even better because we're typically a lot of times using old money that's already going out. Everybody needs what we do where they want. Hey, I mean, everybody's in the money business whether they want to be or not. They're going to do it with money every day the rest of their life. And then if that's the case, then man, just like on the investment business, we're not talking to people about spending money. We're talking about saving money. I mean, we're going to put them on $100 a month mutual fund, and they're going to get a statement every month or every quarter or whatever. And so anyway, that's a key thing. And then other than that, it's really it's human nature, right? Somebody just sent me a note. They're glad I'm feeling better. Man, me too. A couple weeks ago, I had the COVID, and then I think it was last week, I had to kind of cut short my introduction. But anyway, I'm feeling better. But the bottom line is that as a matter of fact, I'm over it. Thank the Lord. It don't last. I had one day of fever, but anyway, so now it's it comes down to human nature. I had people that I thought they were going to be on the cover of Muscle magazine. And then I've literally had people before that would join the club, and then that'd be the last time I would see them, right? And I thought to myself, man, why would they do that, right? But it's just human nature. You can't pick who's going to. And then other people, I thought, man, I don't know if they're going to be around. And then they're there 2 years later every week, right? You never know. Like Art said, there's never been a test of eyes that can look at the heart of a man or woman and tell how bad they want to do something, or when they're ready for that change. And that's the great thing to me about this business is, man, you can just focus on trying to do the right thing, create the right environment of just, integrity and serving people, loving people, caring about people. And you know what? The right kind of person, they're going to pick up on that, right? And, we've talked a lot about, building an environment where people feel at home, right? Where they feel like they have found home, that they can kind of plant their flag. And this is where they're going to build their business. And then, man, we can build that environment to where they can build that company within a company. And, no inventory, no payroll, no franchise fee, right? No debt, right? I mean, it's incredible. And man, I think it's great for young people. I think it's absolutely incredible for young people. But, can I tell you, man, I think it's incredible for people aging gracefully. I'll say it like that, right? Too. Man, what a great place to age gracefully. I don't know about y'all. I don't know when you're thinking about retiring, but why in the heck would you want to retire? Right? Work your own hours, your own boss, no quotas, and you build what you own. When you get through with the income, you pass it on to your family, right? I mean, it's I don't want to over promote it, not to get rich quick. Most people don't make it, right? That's one thing I loved about Art Williams. Art Williams is just transparent. He said, look, we probably ain't gonna make it, but if we do, it's gonna be a hell of a show, right? We may not make it. We probably ain't gonna make it as a company, but if we do, it's gonna be big. And so thank the Lord for that. But anyway, y'all, I just think that, man, if you could just kind of get the big picture of where you're headed, doesn't matter what you got to go through, but just put one foot in front of the other and say, okay, I'm first things first. I don't feel like doing it. I don't, I'm whatever. And again, motion controls emotion. A lot of times you start feeling like doing it halfway through it. If your house is a wreck, go clean up half of it and you're going to feel better, right? I promise you. Motion controls emotion. And then by the time you get the house clean, you're going to be thinking, man, why was I ever dreading that? That was almost fun. Same way with building your business, your company within a company, it's the same thing. So, but anyway, guys, that is really all I've got. Jill is, she is working on a talk. You're not going to get to hear from Jill this morning, but she's working on a talk for the leadership retreat. I am really excited about that. Of course, we'll do leadership hour every Saturday morning. But anyway, we've just got some good things happening, and I hope that all of you, we're gonna close out this month. Like I said, a week from next Tuesday, and then we're gonna do our leadership retreat. We do have a few more spaces available. And I am excited about that, as I kicked off the meeting with that. But anything we do, let us know. We also got today recorded. If you can just pick up a few things from that or whatever. But we'll send that out this week to all the VPs. But hey, we just let everybody know we appreciate you and appreciate our hierarchy. There's no doubt in my mind we're getting ready to go to 250 vice presidents. And I really hope that, anything we can do to help you get to where you want to get to. And everybody needs to find their own water level, what you want. I mean, my original goal was to get to district leader, right? Before I went out and got a good job, right? I wanted to do this while I was in college. But by the time I got to district, I thought, man, this is it. I think this is it for me. And I'm going to go full time and open my first office, O'Farrell building, downtown Laurel, Mississippi. Jill and I went out there, man, we got after it, and we made it happen, then moved down the Gulf Coast, right? Then back to Laurel, then up here. We were talking this morning. This is we've been up here 34 years now in Jackson market. So this is our 43rd year in the company. And so, whatever your goal, I mean, you can, to me, I didn't come here to earn what we're earning, right? I didn't do that. I mean, that wasn't my goal. But I've never sent a check back saying I didn't want it, right? Because here's what I find: the more income you make, the more needs you see, right? Man, why would you not? How tall should a tree grow? As tall as it can, right? Man, I love the marketplace. I love marketplace ministry. I love like doing the little Livingston. I'm the Starbucks coffee guy, man. I deliver coffee every Sunday morning. That's what I do. And I love the marketplace. I love the platform of the marketplace. And man, that's what fires you up. I got a text this morning, got a message this morning. But I'm not bragging on me. I don't mean to. Those of you who know me know that. But I got a text this morning from a guy that used to be with us, and his son, he does some stuff with NASCAR and all this stuff. And his son has an autistic son, and he sent me his son's story. And he said, man, David, the reason my son it's his oldest son is doing what he's doing in life is because of the things that I learned from you years ago. He's not with us anymore, right? But man, man, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where the fun is. And man, let's go out there and do something big. 2022 is here. We're going to be next Tuesday, not a week from Tuesday. We're rolling into February, and let's go make this thing happen. And for you and your family. So hey, we love y'all guys. Love you guys. Anything we can do, let me know. I'm around all day. All VPs. I have my cell phone number, 601-502-3234. And so anyway, guys, God bless y'all and have a great weekend. If I can help you, let me know.